Should you do the carnivore diet strict for 90 days? Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to my humble life. Now, I used to say my humble channel, but that triggered people because we live in a triggered world these days. But my life is humble and I want to get more into lifestyle things and not just talking about diet because that shite gets old. Life is beyond gobs of meat. I know. Welcome everyone to my humble life. You see that? That's a very humbling life, the beauty of nature. Now let's get into this subject. Bam! Welcome everyone. Let's get into this whole 90-day thing. Now, the reason why I thought of doing this video on the topic of doing carnivore and should you do it and all of this for 90 days is because I had a client this morning who did it for 90 days and her health went down the toilet. Now, contrary to what's being expressed out there, the new trend, first there's trends like priming, which is like illogical garbage. It's garbled garbage. And the person running this, somebody sent me a video of her, which I don't really want to do call out videos of particular people, but I kind of do, but I kind of don't. She's holding up a plate of God knows like 6 eggs and 6 ounces of meat. And she's sitting there in a crop top talking about how she lost weight and all this. And y'all believe this garbage? Lies, foolery, and fuckery. Like, don't believe this stuff. Like, people are making cheddar, okay? And I'm not talking about cheese. Now, the next thing, these trends like priming and then like beef, butter, and bacon. And who cares if dry-aged bacon makes you sick and butter makes you sick? Just eat it. And people will eat that when they have sensitivities to these foods. I mean, you cannot make this shite up in a handbag. Okay. Now the next thing is doing carnivore for 90 days, like 90-day challenges of carnivore. And carnivore's trending, just like keto did. There's no difference. I've been around for both. It's exactly the same. My stupid air conditioning just kicked on, so I got to talk louder to those who think that my volume is too low because I'm too lazy to pull out my microphone, which I have one. I've got 2 microphones. But I'm going to wait for this to kick off and get more into it. Often you'll hear me say that the carnivore diet is a great strategy to get some of that inflammation down. Now, if you take someone like Mikhaila Peterson, who is having issues with inflammation in her joints and pain everywhere, and she does better on a meat diet, but she has restricted herself to the point where perhaps if she were to go back to any of these foods, that the symptomology, the symptoms would be even worse. The body tries to find homeostasis, and when you don't set it up to create a balance, things keep declining and you have to eat less and less and less and less to feel better. And then eventually over time, other things start tanking. Now, when people do well on carnivore diets initially, I mean, it becomes like their religion. I don't know why, but it does. And they're screaming it to the tops of the mountains. Now, for those making money on it, I mean, it's to their advantage not to say any pitfalls. But for people out there that you're concerned or like you're like, why this person like Mikhaila is doing so well? But I don't believe she is, because I believe she developed a red beef allergy at some point and switched to lamb. So that's where you're finding problems with histamine and inflammatory responses to foods. Everything is on the table when it comes to your body. How much toxic exposure are you experiencing, like air, water, food, plastics, clothing that's nylon, that has plastic in it, and not cotton or linen. I mean, your cleaning materials, your makeup, your shaving cream, your lotion, your deodorant, everything you put on the skin, everything that you eat, even from the that and the towers and your Wi-Fi, all of those things are going to determine how well your immune system, which can go haywire, can become excited or more in check. So it's not just about these diets. When you hear people talk about doing a 90-day carnivore challenge, 3 months really is the limit that I give people to get their shite together and then get off the diet before things start tanking, like diamine oxidase and methyl transferase, as well as your electrolytes and your adrenal and cortisol response. Yeah, that can happen on carnivore. But some people can't even make it 90 days. So if you do use a carnivore diet to get rid of inflammation, how you do it is so important. When people are telling you to eat beef, butter, and bacon and do this for 90 days, and people are following this garbage, I'm getting these people. These people who get wrecked by horrible advice will come to me and say, fracked up, Stephanie. I followed these people's advice, and what do I do to fix it? So let's go over my client today. She had leaky gut and digestive issues to start off with, right? That's why I do carnivore. She didn't talk about weight loss because she's underweight, because she's having problems with her digestion and leaky gut, and now absorption. So she had issues, and in the last week I've gotten all those people: joint pain, high blood sugar. The woman the other day is like, I can't sleep, so I'm taking these interventions to sleep. And I'm like, you got it. We've got people stuck on bends, pharmacological stuff. In my last week, we've got histamine way up here. And they were all promised that if they did a carnivore diet, that they would see improvement. But instead, these people, I'm getting them, their health is declining. A declining of your health when you've been promised like paradise if you do a carnivore diet, and people did this with keto as well. It's really kind of sad. It's kind of like playing on the stresses of people's desperation to either lose weight or get better. But let's go through this person's issues, or that increased. One was her digestive issues, her histamine issues. She did the beef, butter, and bacon. Couldn't do traditional butter, but found a goat butter. Now, one of the worst things that tanked was her electrolytes and her sleep. And I'm getting this sleep thing all the time. She's like, I'm peeing all day long. Didn't happen before carnivore. Gut wasn't this bad before carnivore. Sleep, horrible, post-carnivore. And she did this 90 days. She was told to do it 90 days. So she was committed. I'm going to do those 90 days. And she's like, the more I did it, the worse I got. I said to her, what are some of the worst symptoms that you've experienced? And she said, dry mouth, thyroid symptoms like constipation, hypothyroidism, thyroid numbers are tanking. There's my air conditioning again. She developed a streptococcus, and her candida went out of control while on carnivore. You can't make this stuff up. This is real stuff. Don't do carnivore for 90 days if you are experiencing worse symptoms. And I want to go more into why, even if my air conditioning is kicking on, because I need to get outside. It's too beautiful. Let me go through some of the symptoms that you need to be really aware of as you're trying to do carnivore up to 90 days, because now people are like, do the carnivore 90-day challenge and eat beef, butter, and bacon and like just completely destroy your body. Okay. If you have hypoglycemia, dysglycemia, and I hate to say it, most people do, If you have problems with hydration, which most people develop, low blood pressure, if you have thyroid symptoms and you have chronic fatigue, don't do carnivore. Or gallbladder problems, you ain't gonna push your 90 days of carnivore. So let's separate people into groups and let's figure out some solutions. Dehydration. Everybody goes through dehydration on a carnivore diet because we grew up on carbs. When you cut out your carbohydrates, it's very, and for her, it's like nearly impossible to keep her cells hydrated. She literally is like, I feel my body pulling fluid from everywhere so the cells can still communicate. And one of the places that your body pulls fluid from is your rectum, your colon. And that's why people develop hard stool and constipation. And then they'll eat a bunch of fat and have diarrhea, and they're like, oh, that's relief. And then some people are developing hemorrhoids with loose stool. And I'm like, because you're constipated, and it's the body's last ditch effort to get the trash out of your body. And you can still develop hemorrhoids and have loose stool. Lots of little things you guys don't know. But if you have dysglycemia and your blood sugar's destabilized before you ever do carnivore, get a Mojo, get a Precision Extra, get a glucometer and start measuring your glucose and ketones. I have several videos with charts and numbers and explaining millimoles and milligrams per deciliter and the ranges and whatnot. You want to see the algorithm of your blood sugar, because a lot of people eat too much protein because they're afraid of fat, or they can't digest fat and then up the protein. And you got to make that decision. Either we go off of eating a carnivore diet and add a little bit of starch and find starches that don't come out in solid form in your poop. And those starches would be, I know, jasmine rice. There is in some jasmine rice, there's still a little bit of arsenic left in it, but it is a short-term solution. We got jasmine rice, we've got parsnip, we got sweet potato. Yes, I know sweet potato has some oxalates and is a nightshade, but all of these are on a very low level. Again, this is for the short term. You don't got a choice when you have issues with dysglycemia, which is affecting your thyroid. Yes. And people are developing Addison's disease and hyperthyroidism on carnivore diets. Yes, they are. I know that because they come to me. So check your blood sugar. If your blood sugar is not stable, there's two things. Either you have to eat fat all day long, if your gallbladder is working, with a little bit of protein and fat all day long, and we're going to take one time a day and eat that much plants. That could be in the form of a half of a teaspoon. Just to tell the brain, hey brain, please don't lose any regulatory systems towards histamine. Come on, try to find the way and work hard. Then you slowly start titrating up, and I mean slowly. You have veg one time a day in one meal, preferably middle of the day. At night, if you're having a response to a particular plant, it might keep you awake. So we're going to do it earlier. If you have anything like chronic dehydration, the symptoms, pay attention to them. Now, this woman, she was peeing all the time. I said, okay, peeing all the time, you are low in ADH. This is called antidiuretic hormone, and she developed this on carnivore. What I think is she has a hard time absorbing her minerals, which a lot of people do on trying to do these low-carb diets. That's why they do them. They try to fix their leaky gut, but what they don't realize is that they have to know the individual health issues, or they can exacerbate their leaky gut. In this woman's particular case, her gallbladder is working, and I'm like, okay, eat fat all day long. And I mean all day. You have to know exactly the really fine line between the thyroid, the gallbladder, and then this dehydration. A simple solution in this woman's case, like minerals, in my opinion, were going right through her. She had her appendix removed 6 months before doing carnivore. that exacerbated her gut issues because the appendix helps to stabilize your gut bacteria. So if she was dealing with leaky gut prior to having her appendix removed, there's nothing stabilizing. Then you go on carnivore and you have a double of not stabilizing the gut microbiome and beneficial bacteria because of the lack of an appendix and no prebiotic fiber. No one's telling you guys this stuff. Stop drinking the carnivore Jim Jones Kool-Aid and start to deconstruct some of these things that you're listening to, like do carnivore for 90 days. And if you feel bad after the 30th day, keep going hard on it. Get some, true grit. Bullocks. Bullocks is really what it is. I told her, I think you have a worsening leaky gut because you're showing those symptoms. I don't think you're absorbing things very well. We said, okay, she goes to bed between 9 and 11. And I'm like, no more. You go to bed at 9. She's like, I can't sleep or I wake up in the middle of the night. I said, okay, ground. I'm grounding. Great. Get some blue blockers. And I said, what happens when you wake up in the middle of the night? She said, well, I will either read from my iPad. I said, nope, that's done. You can take that iPad. You can listen to an audiobook in dark with candlelight, no blue light exposure in the middle of the night, and sit in an uncomfortable chair because the body's going to want to relax. The central nervous system doesn't want to sit up like this under candlelight reading. The whole thing is like, I'm uncomfortable. I want to get comfortable. Yes, and it works. With the grounding, I told her to take glycine, because she might be low. Test a little. Comes in a little powder. Tastes a little sweet. Test it. Make sure you don't have a histamine response to the glycine. It's an amino acid. Take that, and you could take that before bed with a little bit of salt. That equates to the that's a part of the 1 teaspoon a day to help make more antidiuretic hormone to stop the peeing. Now, let's talk about your potassium. What are you doing for potassium? She eats avocado. I said, that's not enough for you. Do you have a problem with citric acid? No. Okay, let's do some potassium citrate rather than bicarbonate. Definitely no chloride. She also told me that she tried Keto Chow and she felt sick as a dog on it. Keto Chow, Element, same garbage, different visual packaging. Okay. I said to her, don't go up to 3 and 4 liters if you're thirsty. You're going to dilute the sodium in your blood. So we're dealing with her chronic dehydration, and we're stopping this 90 days of garbage. She did not want to go back to plants. She doesn't do well with, not plants, I meant starches, sugars, fruit. She doesn't do well on it. I said, okay, we're not going to do that. You can tolerate, hello. Animal fat. She can't eat butter, so she's doing goat butter. I said, I want you to take that glucometer, and I want you to test 10 minutes before, 1 hour later, and 2 hours to see how much the blood sugar spikes and drops. It should drop back down to that baseline pre-eating of the food number. That's how you test for sensitivities, right? She wants to stay carnivore with just the edge of plant, which is basically a keto diet, because keto has been bastardized and it's been made to be an almond flour, keto junk cookies and chips products, that now it's a bad name. And now carnivore is the rage, and it's the same subset of stupid problems, the same people pushing things that create health issues. Okay. ADH is going to help her, hopefully, with the peeing all the time. Don't drink too much water, because you're going to dilute the sodium, and that's what we don't want. We're trying to draw more water into the cells. I said, again, not everybody eats every 3 hours. I said, you're not eating enough food. Your body's in the cortisol pathway. You're dumping sodium, so you're dumping sodium, and then you're not absorbing your minerals, and then you've developed low antidiuretic hormone. Now, this is a client story, and this is from today. Today. Okay? I had to block her name. because we add a little plants in, technically it's not carnivore. But she's riding that line, and that's perfect. She's doing a little bit of asparagus because it's a prebiotic fiber and it helps the bacteria attach to something. Because now, remember, with her appendix gone and with doing carnivore for 90 days, she has destabilized her gut microbiome. She was eating sauerkraut. I said, get off the sauerkraut. For people who've got severe leaky gut, adding things like kimchi, and I'm going to do a video about this, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, anything that's fermented could create, you're like, the gut bacteria should be balanced and now it's out of balance. And when you add sauerkraut, you're adding more bacteria into the colon, offsetting the balance of the bacteria of the microbiome. So get rid of that for now. That's something you can add later once the holes in your small intestine begin to seal. That's the problem. When you have big open holes, you lower the diamine oxidase production and you start to feel sick and achy and tired and autoimmune-y. When the gut seals and the bacteria rebalances, you can start opening yourself up to different food groups, and you don't have to do strict carnivore where you are constantly risking chronic dehydration and the loss of your diamine oxidase, otherwise known as DAO enzyme. So in her case, she was becoming malabsorptive. When you're malabsorptive, that's my air conditioning again, then you have to breathe and diaphragmatic breathe, and you got to stop going down the cortisol pathway and you have to relax. That tenseness in you that you may not be aware of is keeping those holes nice and big, and you're basically leaking minerals. And then she's thirsty all the time, drinking water, diluting the minerals more, and then peeing all day long because now her antidiuretic hormone is low. So we went for the glycine, we went for the eating every 3 hours, we went for the asparagus for the prebiotic bacteria, we got rid of her sauerkraut, and we have her drinking all day long to stay hydrated, and getting the stress down and finding foods that are grass-fed, adding liver to her diet for the thyroid, and also shellfish potentially for selenium and iodine. But I said if you're hyperthyroid, you don't want to take iodine because it can exacerbate your symptoms, right? Because you're producing too much thyroid hormone. And hyperthyroidism is pretty dangerous, I'm not going to lie. Check your urine if it's foamy. Now that's the dehydration part. She also developed chronic fatigue because she wasn't getting into ketosis on a carnivore diet. So we cranked up her fat real high, eating every 3 hours. We mixed up her protein throughout the day, and she's like, I eat 2 types. Nope, your gut needs a variety of bacteria. It just does. It needs to recognize different bacteria so it can deal with the bacteria. When you are just constantly eating mono foods and now you're trying to eat 10 new food groups, the body's like, I can't deal with the bacteria that you're eating that my gut's not used to seeing. So people start feeling bloated on carnivore diets. Yes. So we got our protein moderate to low. We got our fats over 200. We have her eating throughout the day. We have her now eating liver. I told her to eat frozen liver pills. Just make sure that everything is grass-fed pastured for now, not forever because it's expensive. She says she's doing fine with the goat butter that she sourced that is not soy or corn fed, which goats and sheep unfortunately are often fed that type of feed. Yeah, and with that, the dryness, the dry mouth, the peeing all the time with the glycine. And these are short-term strategies. I also told her to take milk thistle to 1 bottle's worth to deal with the liver. Clean that body out. go to bed early, have proper posture so the liver, kidney, gallbladders can function properly. And that's just today. Every day it's been like my yesterday. I mean, it's crazy, all these people. This person had high ALP numbers. He had shingles. Never had that before. I wonder what that's from, my people. Perhaps the sword. Blisters in the mouth. Blisters in the rectum. Coffee drinker. And people are sick and they try to do carnivore and they feel worse. Here's another one. Gastritis. Inflamed stomach. Can't eat that many foods. Had to stop drinking coffee. I could just keep going back person after person because I sit and take notes, because that's what you're supposed to do in a consultation and really talk to people. Hypothyroid. Graves' disease. You can't make this up. Right there. Hypothyroid. Don't look at my scribbles. This is me writing real fast. Hypothyroid, Graves' disease. So we had that person not get off the cheese, get off the yogurt, get off the berries. Lord have mercy. Chronic constipation. These are my people. Okay? These are all people doing the carnivore diet. Or tried. They tried and had to stop. Oh, this person had lung cancer. Gallstones. There's another one. There's another one. This person followed Ray Pete. And Ray Pete is jacking people up. Hashimoto's, food sensitivity. She's on decaf. I said, get off the decaf. These are my clients. It's person... carnivore since September 2023. Gained weight on high-fat carnivore. Can't sleep. Another person. Another person. Gained weight. My writing, I promise, is not so scribbly. It's just they're talking and I'm trying to write as fast as they talk. If you are experiencing any of these things that I've mentioned on these pages, don't keep pushing carnivore. You have to maybe find a balance, right? You might have to do some olive oil with some fat trimmings, because remember, fat trimmings have a lot of protein fibers in it. So that's not going to be pure fat. And olive oil doesn't put you in ketosis, but it's enough to tell the brain you're not starving. A lot of these people end up doing low fat and low protein to try to fix their body, and they start being really underweight. Like this woman today was 107 pounds at 5'2". The men, their weight, horrible, 130 pounds at 5'11". They are suffering people, and they all tried carnivore, and they all still want to do carnivore. But if they were to do carnivore that 90 days and do it like people said, like more protein, just up your fat. They don't talk about ketosis because they don't know. They just say, eat up your fat, you'll feel better. But then people, like there's one doctor, she's like, eat a tablespoon of butter before you go to bed. And some of these people have severe whey and casein allergies to that protein in the butter. They react to the butter. Then the gallbladder reacts. They feel sick as a dog. And a doctor told them to do this. Remember, none of these doctors have any nutritional education whatsoever. None. And they specialize in things that have nothing to do with the carnivore diet. You think about Paul Saladino, who did the carnivore diet. I mean, he wrote, I believe, 2 books, The Carnivore Code, and he had to quit. And I was doing carnivore diet with fruit, and you guys are copying this stupid garbage. You cannot make this stuff up in a handbag. Be careful. Know your existing health. If you're like that one client today, then check to see how much you're peeing. Write it down how many times you pee in a day. if you are dehydrated and you're doing the potassium, you're doing the magnesium, and you're drinking enough water, you might be malabsorptive. Why are you malabsorptive? Because stress is using up all your sodium. It's depleting your sodium. There's a lot of things to consider. You have to go to bed earlier. You have to chew your food like a turtle. You have to do grass-fed and pastured. It's not hard. It's hard when you've been told a bunch of foolery, but it's not hard once you start figuring out your individual health. Now, all these people in this notepad, I don't give them the same advice, because one thing would hurt one person and help the other. Every person on all of these consultations, this is a quasi-new notepad, all these people have gotten different advice from me. Similar, not the same. Some of them cannot do the animal fat. Like this woman, she can't do butter. She can't do tallow. She does the goat butter, and that's her safe butter that she doesn't react to. There's still milk proteins in it, just not as much as butter. I told her to rotate her foods and experiment and journal and track what happens if you eat eggs. What if you take out the whites and have yolks for 3 days, and then you add back the whites, and then you test your blood sugar, and then what happens to your blood values? It's not hard. Comment below if this makes sense to you, if you've been struggling with your carnivore diet, if you're gaining weight because you're not managing your blood sugar, but I've talked about that in copious and insane amounts of videos. You don't have your hormones in check, and thyroid, estrogen, cortisol are all hormones that you have to think about and not calories. My Instagram is Stephanie Ketogenic. My Facebook fan is 11 minutes. How stupid am I? I need to get outside. And I'm not even going to cut this 11 minutes up because I don't got time. I just don't. My Facebook fan page is Stephanie the Business Person. I run a course where I cover all 3 diets. You can sign up through stephanieperson.com. It's only $15 a month, and you can start and stop at any time. Yes, you can just turn off the subscriptions if you feel like you've gotten what you need out of it. And I do a lot there. A lot. Also, I'm hurrying because I'm trying to get to my evening where I can finish doing all of the written content for my 30-day challenge. It's not really a challenge. It's more of an educational thing. So it's not like, ooh, do keto, carnivore, low carb, high fat for 30 days and let's see what happens. It's not that. It's to take everything that I've learned over the years and cram it into 30 days and try to get the most, sort of the cliff notes, the most you can out of that content and that information. If you need a consultation, you can book one at stephanieperson.com. If I'm full booked, you can email me and I can try, and emphasis, try to fit you in. And some people have better flexible schedules that I can squeeze in than others, but you can always try until I open up more dates. I try not to open too far in advance because I'm building a house, I'm taking care of my mom, I'm taking care of all these animals, and keeping 10 acres groomed by myself with my bare hands. I know. And somehow get a workout in. So now I'm going to go get a workout in and come back and start working. And my dog is restless. And I really just want to go to the gym. But now he's like, play. So I have to go wear him out and then go to the gym. I digress. Peace.